Need to switch branches, but your code isn't ready to commit? In this video, you'll learn exactly when to use Git Stash, how to switch branches safely without losing your changes, and master every essential Git Stash command with practical real-world examples.
So when we talk about Git Stash means it is used to save the uncommitted changes to a temporary area. For example, consider I have created a file and I just added to my staging area. It is not that as soon as I add it to staging area, I have to commit that file, because the commit should happen for any logical unit of task. We never recommend the developers to create commit for each and every line of code they do. Let's say, for example, consider I want to create one program. So I will create one file, and in that file, first I will try to define the program. Very first function, whatever I want to create, I'll create the function and I'll try to test that function. Like this, if I want to create 5 functions in a program, I will first take care of the very first function and perform all sort of validation. If that function is completed, then I want to create one logical unit of commit point there. Similarly, if I complete the thorough testing for my function 2, I can create another logical commit point. So it is not like while writing a function for each and every line, you should add it to a commit. It is not a best practice. So on that perspective, if I save anything to my staging area, it happens as in a very frequent scenario. Most of the time it happens. Consider I have a repository 1. Currently, I am working on one particular feature, feature 1, CM1, CM2. I am not interested to commit anything at this point of time. I have created a file in this feature branch. I have just added to the staging area because I want Git to start tracking my file. So whenever I create any changes, I just simply add to staging area. After completing one logical unit of task, I'll be committing it. So till I execute a commit command, the changes will be maintained in my staging area, right? So while I'm working on the staging area, if I get any new requirement, like there is some hotfix changes, there is some production issues. So if there is a case, I have to leave this work as uncommitted changes in this feature branch, and I need to switch to some other branch like ad hoc branch, something like this. While we are working in the current repository in a particular feature, if the changes are not yet committed, in such situations, right, your Git cannot handle these changes within that feature branch itself. It is not recommended to switch to any other branch if the working tree is not clean. So that is the reason we always use one command called status command. So before you switch to any other branch, it is always a best practice to issue git status command and check the status of that particular branch. Only if the working tree is clean, you are allowed to move to next branch. Otherwise, the changes whatever you made in feature branch, it gets carried forward to the new branch. So it might lead to some consistency issues. So to overcome that, I can safely add this file to a temporary area by using Git Stash. This is the idea behind this topic. At any point of time, if you want to save your uncommitted changes to a temporary area, you can use Git Stash. Where is Git Bash? Okay, let me create a new repository here, new folder. Once we initialize this, let me create some new commit here. I'm going to create one new branch here, switch -c feature 1. Now, once we get into this feature branch, you can able to see the file. Let me go back to my master branch and let me create one new branch here. Based upon master, I want to create another branch called feature 2. Now I have 2 branches. The feature 2 can be considered as an ad hoc branch. Consider I just get into this feature branch, and in this feature branch, let me create a new file, a1.txt, and let me add it to the staging area of feature 1. Now the changes are present in the staging area. While I am working on this particular request, if I get a requirement to switch to new branch, so the changes whatever I made, it is still there in the staging area. And in this case, if I issue git switch to feature 2, see what happened? The controller switched to feature 2 branch. The file whatever you have created in your feature 1, it is reflecting in feature 2. If I give git status in feature 2, you can understand that. But this change is actually not meant for feature 2, right? It belongs to feature 1, but still it is carried forward to this one. So this is one of the important concern while working on branches. Before you switch to any other branch, ensure that your working tree is clean. There should not be any uncommitted changes. If you maintain such uncommitted changes, the changes will reflect in the branch which you traverse, and it expects you to commit the changes there. So if you commit something in this thing without proper knowledge, because already it's available in your staging area of feature 2. Without proper knowledge, if you simply execute your add command to any other file, and if you commit means this a1.txt also will get committed to feature 2, which will definitely lead to some data integrity issue. So to overcome this, right, what I'll do, I have to go back to my feature 1, and here I need to decide what can I do with this. If I'm okay with the changes, I can commit and switch, but I'm not in a position to commit it because my logical unit of work is not completed. Without proper testing, I don't want to create any commit point here. So how we are going to handle the situation means I can safely move this to a temporary area, right? So there is a command called git stash save followed by the message any stash message you can give for what purpose you're using it. This is for a1.text. I'm creating a stash entry for this a1.text. That's it. So now it has saved the working directory and index on this feature 1 based upon this message. Now if you say git status, your working directory is clean. And if you say ls, that a1.text has been removed. And if you say git ls-files, it is tagging only f1.text file. So what about this a1.text file, where it went? It is not even present in working directory, right? So that is what a stash means. So stash type of list data structure. Data structure list is one of the data structure which is used to maintain some list of entries, and it has by default it uses a property like last in first out property. When which element enters the last, that element will exit first. Like that, it uses the last in first out approach. But apart from that, if you want, you can able to handle some random data also, like from in between. If you want to pick up any element also, it's possible. So what you can do here is you can simply use git stash save followed by the message. It is always recommended to use a save message so that it will be easy for you to recognize for what purpose you stashed it. And once you stash the entry, if you want to get the list of stash, there's something called git stash list command. So when I run this command here, I can able to see the list of stashed entries. So at this point, you can see there's only one entry created. So here is stash @0, that is the index number. Any element you add to the stash list, it will be uniquely identified with the help of this element ID or index number. Let me add one more element, a2.text file. Add it to staging area, and from staging area, I don't want to commit, but I want to move it to my temporary area. So what I can do, I can simply say git stash save followed by the message. This is created for a2.text file. Simple. Now, if I execute the stash list command, you can see this a1.text which we have added earlier. Initially, it was assigned with index 0, but now the latest entry, it uses index 0. So always the index 0 refers to the latest entry in the stash list. That is what the data structure. It uses the last in first out approach. This a2.text has been assigned with stash of 0. Similarly, if you add one more element here, let it be for a3.text file, adding to staging area. And from there, I want to save it to the stash list. And if I get the list here, the latest entry has been assigned with 0. Previous entry will be 1 and 2. Like that, it goes on. So whenever you add a new entry or remove the entry, this identifier varies. So now, once the changes are added, as of now, you can see the list contains 4 entries. And let's say I'm done with my work and I just want to resume a task here. So what I can do, I can use a command git stash apply. When I say git stash apply, as per the default property of stash, it takes the latest entry from stash list and move back to staging area. Changes to be committed, a4.text file. Because that a4.text file has been added the latest entry, so that entry has been taken back to your staging area by using git stash apply command. But another important thing is, when I check the list here, that entry still exists in that particular stash list. So git stash apply command will take the latest changes back to your staging area from the stash list, and it will not delete that entry from the stash list. All right. So now I have the data available, so I can simply commit this, or I can delete as per my requirement. I can able to perform any task there. Let me commit this. Even after committing this, the list, it is having a4.text file. Do you still need that entry? We're done with that work, right? But still we don't need that entry. So what you can do means you can simply use a command called git stash drop. When you say git stash drop command, it will drop the latest entry from the stash list. Stash of 0 has been removed from the stash list. And now if you see the list, that A4 entry, which was assigned with 0, has been deleted, and A3 has been assigned with 0 now. So like this, you can able to use your git stash apply command as well as git stash drop command. And another important thing here is there is one command called git stash pop command. So when you say git stash pop, let's say I want to issue git stash pop. So pop command also, it is used to take the changes back to your staging area. It will take the latest entry from the staging area, and it also deletes the entry from the stash list. So it is something like cut and paste. So if I use git stash pop, that entry has been added back to your staging area and it has been removed from the stash list. So if you want to directly delete and move the changes back to staging area, instead of apply command, you can use pop command. So this is how we manage our stash list. And I can see there are 3 commands now in the stash list. And what you can do here is you can simply make necessary changes whenever required. So now there is another option while using the stash apply or pop or drop even. So when I say stash apply, what happens? it will try to apply the latest changes back to your staging area of this thing, stash of 1 or 0. So which element you want to pick, you can able to use that element ID here. So it means if I simply use apply command, it will by default pick up the latest entry. But if you want to pick up any specific entry from the list, you can use that ID here. Now my intention is I want to take this a2.txt file back to my staging area. So for that, I can use this apply command, and that a2.txt file has been taken back to staging area, and I can able to commit this, or I can able delete or process the data. That doesn't matter. But still, if you see the list, that a2.txt is available here. So how I can delete this entry means using the same command, drop command with that stash entry term. So this command will simply drop that list entry from the list. See, now A4 and A1 is available, A2 has been deleted. So it is not like always you need to pick up the latest entry. Using that ID, you can able to choose any specific entry. And not only here, even for pop command also. Let me add new changes for reference text. Git add and git stash save one.txt. Similarly, let me add few more entries. Say git stash list. I have these many elements, and my requirement is I want to pop out this particular element. Pop out means it takes the changes back to staging area as well as remove that entry from the list. So what I can do, I can use the same concept here. And which number you want. If you want to use this 3 means, you can use the term 3 here. So if you run this command, what is the file name? A4.txt file, right? So the A4.txt file will be taken back to your staging area and removed from that list. So this is how we can able to use your stash entries. What happens, at one point of time, people will keep on adding the entries to the stash list. They will apply the changes, but sometimes the changes will be left over in the stash list. So if you want to clean up the stash list permanently, if you think that these entries are no longer required or it is already handled, means you can simply use git stash clear. So it means what are all the entries you maintain, what are the files you maintain in that stash list, it will be permanently removed. It's a permanent deletion. These are the various commands we use with your stashing. So first is to create the stash entry in the stash list, and this is to get the list of elements from stash list, and this will just apply or copy the latest entry back to the staging area, and this will take the specific entry back to staging area. Similarly, stash pop will move. Instead of copy, it will just move the entries back to staging area, but this will take the specific entry back to staging area. Like that, the drop command and clear command.